It's Hallmark movie season again. People love to hate them, but let's be real. They've got something figured out. Say Hallmark movie and you know what's coming. A cute small town meeting, a misunderstanding that almost derails the whole romance, and then, bam, grand gesture, snowy happy ending, and then a chaste hug and kiss. Predictable, right? So, why can't we stop watching? Hallmark isn't making these movies for fun after all. So if no one was watching, they'd stop making them. In this video, we're going to break down why Hallmark's formula is pure storytelling gold. We'll dig into how their predictability hooks audiences and why mastering expectations is a writer's real superpower. Whether you're writing romance, thrillers, horror, fantasy, or anything else, the lessons Hallmark teaches you cannot be understated. Let's dive into the Hallmark formula and what it can teach you. Hi, I'm Devlin Blake, and I'm excited you're here. As a neurodiverse author, I know how overwhelming writing and publishing a book can be, especially with a full-time job and busy life. I once thought I could never be a published author, but everything changed with Amazon Kindle and KDP in 2007. Now, with over 200 books written and ghostwritten, I help neurodiverse writers write better and faster using AI. I'll guide you in writing and self-publishing with confidence, making the process easier and more fun. Here's the twist about those predictable Hallmark movies you likely didn't see coming. Predictability isn't really a problem for Hallmark movies. Predictability is actually its secret to success. Hallmark isn't trying to shock you. They're delivering exactly what you came for, and that's the genius. As writers, we feel pressured to break molds and be wildly original with every story. But Hallmark proves that giving people what they want, what they expect, can be just as powerful. Want proof that people actually love them? Let's look at the numbers. Because it turns out, Hallmark movies are a financial juggernaut. In 2022, Hallmark's Christmas programming reeled in a mind-blowing 50 million viewers. 50 million people tuned in, knowing exactly how these movies would play out. That predictability isn't a drawback, it's a moneymaker. They brought in $390 million from ad revenue during the holiday season alone. That's nearly a third of their yearly income, all from delivering the same comforting formula year after year. And these movies, they're cheap to make as far as movies go. Hallmark spends a modest $1 to $2 million per film, often shot in just a couple of weeks, which is like a cup of coffee by movie standards. And by cranking out around 40 movies a year and filming in tax-friendly locations like Canada, they're making the kind of returns big-budget blockbusters can only dream of. Imagine spending $40 million to rake in $390 million. Talk about a perfect formula. Now, of course, as an indie author, your numbers will look different, but you can learn from Hallmark too. So the question is, why do people keep coming back to something they can practically recite? Why does a formula that everyone sees coming work so well? The answer lies in something deeper, something tied to human psychology, storytelling, and most importantly, understanding your audience, which Hallmark understands very well. Christmas is one of the most stressful times of the year for many, and Hallmark movies have been called movie Prozac. And there's nothing wrong with that. Here's where the lesson hits home as a writer. There's a big misconception that formulas somehow dilute creativity, that following a structure is lazy or uninspired, but Hallmark proves the opposite. Their success is living proof that formulas don't limit creativity, they channel it. When you have a structure in place, you can focus on what really matters, connecting emotionally with your audience. Hallmark isn't trying to shock anyone with wild plot twists or reinvent the wheel. The audience knows exactly what's going to happen, and that's precisely why they watch. The formula doesn't provide surprise, it delivers emotional safety. It's a roadmap for the audience, which gives them the freedom to connect with the characters without worrying about a jarring or unsatisfying ending. And if you're protesting that you don't write romance, it's not just romance this applies to. Look at Lifetime movies. They are equally as predictable, but go in the exact opposite extreme in terms of emotions. Instead of emotional safety, they provide cathartic release, and that works too. You won't find two more predictable movie formulas than that of Hallmark and Lifetime. They're opposite sides of the same coin. This concept of predictability creating comfort taps into basic human psychology. Our brains crave patterns. We're wired to seek order and chaos. And when stories follow a familiar structure, It satisfies that innate desire for predictability. It reduces cognitive strain, making the experience of watching or reading more enjoyable. The audience doesn't have to work hard to keep up with the plot. Instead, they just immerse themselves in the character's emotional journey and get the ending they expect. Got a story idea that's burning to get out but not sure how to kick it off? The Plotbot is your fast track to turning that spark into a full-fledged plot. For less than the price of a coffee and a cookie, you'll have a customized AI chatbot at your fingertips, helping you shape your story in minutes. Grab it now at the link below and start writing your novel today. For neurodiverse writers like us, this concept is gold. We are good at patterns, and the pressure to create something entirely original can feel overwhelming, which can paralyze us. But formulas provide a sense of stability and a foundation to build on. This allows you to focus your energy where it really counts, on crafting characters and moments that resonate deeply with your readers. Now let's dive deeper into why predictability works. It's not just about knowing how the story ends, it's about the emotional arc. Audiences aren't tuning into Hallmark, or Lifetime either for that matter, hoping for some groundbreaking twist. They're watching for the catharsis. They know how it ends, but what keeps them glued to the screen is how that emotional journey unfolds. It's the little moments of struggle, growth, and connection that make the familiar ending feel satisfying. This is what makes formulaic storytelling so powerful. It's not about whether or not the audience knows the ending. They almost always do. It's about how they feel when they get there. As writers, this is a lesson we can't ignore. You don't need to reinvent the wheel to keep your audience engaged. What you need is to deliver on the emotional beats they expect. Readers come to certain genres for a reason. Romance for the emotional tension and payoff. Thrillers for the suspense and resolution. Fantasy for the adventure and triumph. They're not necessarily looking for something completely new. They're looking for an emotional experience that feels satisfying. Think of it this way. When you walk into your favorite restaurant, you might be excited about trying a new dish, but there's comfort in knowing that the meal will meet your expectations. This is actually why franchises are successful. McDonald's might not be the greatest hamburger in the world, and it's not. But regardless if you go to a McDonald's here or a million miles away, it will always taste the same. That's why people keep going, despite it not being the best burger in the world. The same applies to stories. Readers might crave novelty in the details, but they want the emotional journey to follow a familiar path. This is where Hallmark gets it right. Their formula, small-town charm, romantic tension, the inevitable happy ending, frees them up to focus on what really matters, the characters, their growth, and the emotional payoff. And that's a critical lesson for writers of any genre. And that's great news for neurodiverse writers like us because working within a formula can actually be liberating. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by trying to create something entirely new, you can lean on structure as a guide, allowing your creativity to flourish in the details. Formulas give you a reliable framework, so you don't have to waste mental energy reinventing the wheel. You can put that energy where it matters, into the characters, the dialogue, and the emotional depth of your story. When you give your readers a familiar structure, you're not being lazy. You're giving them a space where they can invest emotionally without worrying about being blindsided. They know the general shape of the journey, and that allows them to get lost in the emotional beats along the way. A formula doesn't restrict creativity, it enhances it. It's like a skeleton, the bones hold everything together, but the heart, muscle, and soul of the story come from you. You get to decide how to fill that structure with rich, compelling characters and emotionally resonant moments. Hey there! If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, go ahead and hit that like button. It really helps me out and lets me know I'm on the right track with content you love. Thanks for the support. Hallmark and Lifetime show us that even when you're working with familiar stories, the magic is in the details. It's in how you flesh out those characters, the emotional stakes you build, and the journey you take your audience on. Formulas are just the starting point. The artistry comes from how you bring them to life. Using a formula doesn't mean your work is any less creative. It just means you're working smart. When you embrace structure, you can focus on what really makes stories memorable. The emotional beats, the relationships, the growth of your characters. This is where knowing your audience becomes critical. Hallmark has built an empire by knowing exactly who their viewers are and what they're looking for. Hallmark movies don't appeal to everyone, and they're not trying to. People looking for high-concept art house films won't like Hallmark movies. Hallmark knows this, and they don't care. They've zeroed in on their niche, people who want feel-good, low-stakes romantic comedies with guaranteed happy endings, and they give that audience exactly what they want. That's a lesson for any writer. You don't need to write for everyone. In fact, trying to please everyone usually results in a muddled, unfocused story. Look at the failure of modern Disney. Formerly popular franchises like Star Wars are failing because Disney is no longer appealing to their core audience. Hallmark can't make a Lifetime-style movie and expect to keep their audiences. When you understand your audience, what they crave, what resonates with them, you can craft a story that hits all the right emotional notes. For neurodiverse writers, like us, this understanding of your audience becomes even more important. Maybe you're writing for readers who, like you, struggle with sensory overload or anxiety. Or maybe you're writing for readers who find comfort in familiar routines and predictable patterns. Whatever your audience's needs, the key is to recognize that predictability can be a powerful tool when used intentionally. It's not about dumbing down your story or playing it safe. It's about crafting a narrative that resonates emotionally, that provides the kind of experience your audience is seeking. There's this fear among writers that following a formula means sacrificing originality. But the truth is, formulas are there for a reason. They work. They give readers something to hold on to, a roadmap they can follow. But within that roadmap, you have endless opportunities to make the journey unique. Now that you understand why predictability is so powerful, let's talk about how you can actually use it in your writing. No matter your genre, formulas provide a scaffolding that frees up your brain. But this doesn't mean you should copy Hallmark's exact recipe. Got thoughts or questions about the video? Drop them in the comments below. I love hearing what you think, and it helps me create even better content for you. Let's chat. Instead, take what works from their formula and adapt it for your own writing style, audience, and genre. First, get crystal clear on what your readers expect when they pick up your story. Think about the emotional beats that your genre demands. If you're writing a mystery, the audience expects rising tension, red herrings, and a satisfying reveal. If you're working on a fantasy novel, your readers want a hero's journey that ends in either triumph or tragedy. Predictability doesn't mean the plot can't surprise them. It means you're guiding them toward emotional closure. That's the key to using formulas without sacrificing your creativity. You're providing a roadmap that feels familiar, but the details along the way are what make your story shine. And here's where your individual touch comes in. Hallmark's formula works because it taps into universal emotional themes that their readers adore, like love, hope, and personal growth. Your formula needs to tap into the emotional core of your story, too. What's the heartbeat of your plot? What emotional journey are your readers going on? Once you've figured that out, you can craft your plot to serve that emotional arc, not the other way around. Formulas aren't about locking yourself into a rigid framework. They're about building a structure that serves the emotional experience your readers crave. For example, if you're writing a fantasy story, it's easy to get caught up in world building and intricate plots, but readers are really there for the characters, the journey, and the growth. They're there to experience the highs and lows of the protagonist's journey. Just like Hallmark movies focus on character growth within the confines of a predictable plot, your fantasy story can do the same. Your readers already expect that your hero will face challenges, that they'll grow stronger, and that they'll either win the day or learn a hard lesson by the end. What will make your story unforgettable isn't the structure. It's how deeply they connect with your characters and their struggles along the way. And if you're working in thriller or horror, it's even more critical to pay attention to the emotional beats. After all, the audience knows they're in for tension, fear, and resolution. That's what they signed up for and what makes them happy. But the journey you take them on within that framework can be unique. Maybe it's the slow, creeping dread that makes your horror story stand out. Or maybe it's the heart-pounding action scenes. Either way, the formula gives you room to focus on building those terrifying moments, knowing that the audience expects the fear, but not necessarily how it will play out. Neurodiverse writers like us are often great at seeing patterns and creating intricate systems, so lean into that. The beauty of a formula is that it gives you permission to focus on the details that matter. You don't have to constantly ask yourself, where's the story going or how does this end? That's already decided. And that frees you up to focus on the how. The way you build suspense, the way you pull your readers into the emotional world of your characters. The Hallmark movies are always going to end with a happy couple, but what keeps people watching is the unique journey that gets them there. Similarly, when writing within any genre's formula, your readers already know what's likely coming. What hooks them is the unique path you carve toward that inevitable conclusion. And let's be real, writing is exhausting. Especially if you're neurodiverse and fighting against burnout, executive dysfunction, or sensory overload. Having a formula to lean on can make all the difference. It's like a safety net. You already know where the story's headed, so you don't waste energy on the big picture stuff. You can focus on the parts that really get you excited, building tension, exploring character backstories, or throwing in that one scene you've been dying to write. Hallmark's success isn't because they're making groundbreaking art. It's because they know exactly what their audience wants and they deliver over and over again. And their audience loves it. Yes, the audience knows the ending before the movie even starts, but they keep watching because it feels good. That's what you're aiming for. Your readers might not be surprised by the plot, but if you can make them feel something along the way, they'll keep coming back for more. So don't be afraid to use a formula. It's not a limitation, it's a foundation, a springboard for your creativity. Let it take the pressure off and then fill it with your unique voice, your characters, your emotions. When you embrace the structure, you can pour your energy into what really matters, making your readers feel something. And at the end of the day, that's what will keep them coming back for more. Got a story idea that's burning to get out but not sure how to kick it off? The Plotbot is your fast track to turning that spark into a full-fledged plot. For less than the price of a coffee and a cookie, you'll have a customized AI chatbot at your fingertips, helping you shape your story in minutes. Grab it now at the link below and start writing your novel today.